are forced to shoulder the burden of failure. These are just some of the hypiest games that got us going, and then broke our hearts. Bethesda's Fallout 76 presentation at 2018 D3 was nothing but a hype fest. There were beautiful vistas, a compelling narrator, and tantalizing glimpses of massive machines and monstrous creatures. You could say it was almost heaven.
Oh, I get it. I see what you did there. Yeah, should've seen that coming.
The audience was ecstatic, and Bethesda's Todd Howard still had more to reveal after the trailer had already convinced gamers that this was the next step in the post-apocalyptic world of Fallout. Yes, you can still experience a solo story in this online multiplayer game. Yes, your progress will be saved when you join up with your buddies. Yes, you can nuke each other. And yes, the collector's edition comes with a gorgeous map
that glows in the dark.
When the game came out in November, it had just about the amount of appeal that a fictional glow-in-the-dark map does. It was nice to look at, appeared to have a decent amount of content, but just didn't really do much. Any story that the game has is scant due to a complete lack of the humanoid NPCs that usually make Bethesda games memorable. It's rare to run into other players, and when you do, the PvP system is bunk. There were several infamous bugs with the nuke system. In summation, it sucked. We'd take a nuclear winter over Fallout 76 any day. Dragons are cool. Riding on dragons, even cooler. Supposedly, you can't go wrong with dragons, but looking back at the failure that was Lair proves that a game needs a little more substance than big, scaly fantasy creatures. Lair was such a flop that Sony had to try desperately to soften its deafening crash. They sent out reviewers' guides in which journalists were encouraged to, quote, open your mind and hands for something very different. Different in this case was mediocre, and not at all the vision Studio Factor 5 had hyped up. Along the way, the game had lost the story that the studio had been passionate about, and wound up being a shadow of what could have been. Throw in the fact that the controls were practically nauseating, because for some reason it was imperative that you really felt like you had hold of a dragon's reins, and Lair turned out technically unimpressive, narratively uncompelling, and straight up embarrassing to Factor 5 devs. People like Factor 5 co-founder Julian Eggbrecht lost interest in the game when it went from an open-world game to a linear story. He allegedly was an overbearing boss and caused a few devs like designer Joe Pinney to quit.
Clifford, bring in my app.
Like fans, no one from Factor 5 was happy with what became of Lair. Eggbrecht later said in an interview with Polygon, Lair was a genuine f***up by everybody involved, probably me the worst. BioWare hyped up Mass Effect Andromeda for a number of totally valid reasons. Players would be discovering whole new worlds inhabited by whole new races of aliens. Players had more customization options than ever before, and with the march of technological progress, surely the animation would be something to behold. Plus, the first 3 Mass Effect games were modern classics. What could go wrong? Well, actually, a whole lot. The more that was released about Andromeda, the more that fans realized how wrong they were to assume that it would be a better game than the original trilogy. Stuck in development hell, the game was cobbled together in the way a college student throws together a term paper 6 hours before it's due, like they're doing the bare minimum to save their own ass. Where was the well-written, compelling narrative of Mass Effect games past? Why was the UI so frustratingly cumbersome? And how in the world do the animations look so awkward and broken? Andromeda might not have been a total failure, it was still playable after all, but it was still a total disappointment to fans and a disservice to the good Mass Effect name. It's sad to see potential wasted, and Bethesda's Brink had a lot. The first-person, class-based shooter had everything that was cool at the time of ye olde 2011. A post-apocalyptic setting, a parkour-based movement system, cyberpunk character designs, and Team Fortress 2-esque gameplay. And Bethesda, of course, was one of the strongest names in the business. Brink could have been a hit. It could have been a favorite game to play with friends. It could have been the game that the cool kids play. So, why haven't you heard of it? Reviewers just weren't sure what to make of Brink. It wasn't bad, but it wasn't great. A sure way for a game to go quietly into the night is straddling the line between okay and meh. Brink's lackluster performance, which, by the way, didn't actually have much parkour at all, wasn't enough to incite violence, but the game definitely left players sighing as they looked back on months of anticipation. In the end, Brink warranted nothing more than a shrug. More recently, in 2017, Brink was added to Steam as a free-to-play game without so much as a whisper of fanfare, a far cry from the second coming of shooting games.
Come on, Andy! Come on! Yeah!
one of the Wii's few grown-up games, 2006's Red Steel was produced by Ubisoft, and the trailer showed off a perfect marriage between gameplay and the Wii's motion controls. Players were able to carefully aim guns and swing swords to take down Yakuza forces in an immersive experience. That was the idea anyway. In reality, Red Steel was pretty bland. For a game that was built around motion controls, the actual gameplay is all wild swinging and blind shooting that looks nothing like the precise moves shown off in the trailer. Disappearing reticles and the slowest characters ever further muddled what should have been one of the more immersive experience on one of the most beloved and revolutionary consoles of all time. Brute Force is a series that puts shooters on the map. Countless professional gamers have been proud to participate in Brute Force tournaments.
Oh.
Everyone, you probably don't actually remember Brute Force, but at one time it was trying very earnestly to be the next big thing. To be frank, it was trying to kill Halo by, well, being remarkably similar to Halo, and doing nothing to differentiate itself from being little more than a third-person discount Halo. Produced by Digital Anvil in 2003 exclusively for Xbox, the game was released before Halo 2, and if anything, only made players more eager for Bungie's sequel. Because, to be honest, although Brute Force wasn't bad, it wasn't good either. Certainly not as good as it claimed to be. The squad-based shooter had an uninspired sci-fi plot to explain the missions in the game. The flimsy story follows text. The game was hyped up to the
Me and Lil Metros, we are professionals.
Enemy incoming. Weapons ready.
Throwing smoke!
Command is ours. Maintain pressure.
I'm hit! Throwing stun!
Back at it. Enemy at the shelter house.
There! Dead now! Grenade out!
Snapping in the back.
Allied UAV overhead.
Throwing smoke!
Enemy in the junkyard.
All right! Grenade out!
Behind you.
I'm under attack!
Enemy in the center. UAV is ready for flyover. Enemy in the cargo container.
Damn it.
Grid is marked.
Got eyes.
Go for fire.
Impact. Okay. This is Falcon 3-0. Good copy. UAV beginning flyover. Enemy in the back end. UAV is out of fuel. Returning to resupply. Enemy UAV overhead. Enemy in the counter there. Keep going. Enemy in the street. Enemy in the courtyard. Enemy near Main Street.
Yeah. I finished him.
Enemy in the backyard.
Damn, they're just all camping in the back.
Enemy in the center. We are winning. Increase the lead.
What's up, D? So what's up?
You handled yourselves well. Report to brief.
What?
Changing
That went
bags.
shit. Unless you get the quadra. They took your triple kill over my triple kill, bro.
Yeah, that's how I killed him, bro.
Dude, I had the execution with my triple kill. That's bullshit. I'm gonna record that. Good, I got the execution. And then kept going with the knife and got bloodthirsty with the knife.